Welcome back to the Luxury Promise YouTube channel, and today we are going to be talking all things Hermes, and we're going to be going through a comprehensive guide on the leathers. So if you are looking to build your Hermes collection, then this is a great video for you to watch to learn about which are the best leathers and which leather you should maybe go for before deciding on that big purchase, whether it's a Birkin or a Kelly or a Constance. So first up, I'm going to start off with this Kelly, which is a Kelly 25 in Tadelakt Leather. So as you can see, it is a stunning leather. It's actually one of my favourite leathers, and from far away it resembles box. So the difference between this Tadelakt and box, which are the two closest leathers, is that it's a smoother and a softer finish than box leather, and also box has a much more of a glossier look, so there is a more of a shine, whereas this it does look like it has a shine, but it's less shiny, and also it is a much softer and more of a matte appearance. Other than that, it is this pretty much the same. It's a grainless leather, so if you don't like a grainy bag, often a Birkin or a Kelly, you can see the grains if you're going for like Togo or Clemence, but if you prefer a bag without grains, then the Tadelakt Leather is perfect. So just so you can see, you see no visible grains, and also it's a great matte finish. So if you're looking for a smooth looking bag, then this is the one. Next up we have box leather, which this is a box Constance, which box is personally one of my favorites. It's very hard to buy a box Birkin or a Kelly. It's probably one of the rarest to come by, and actually it's probably one of the most expensive leathers to buy. So if you're looking to purchase a box leather, which is an unworn box bag, then the most expensive leather is actually box leather. But I love the shine that a box leather has, which is the difference between Tadelakt, as you can see here. Again, you can see it looks very similar in leather, but there is a more of a glossier finish, which I don't know, we'll do it. As you can see here, you can see the reflection of the light on this. So it has a more of a smoother, more shinier appearance. So a bit more like how we would probably, if you're looking in the Chanel world, a little bit closer to the patent leather than you are on just a classic lambskin. So that's the difference between caviar and lambskin leather. In caviar you have a grain, lambskin leather it's a smoother finish. So that's box leather, and as I said before, it's a very rare one to get hold of. It's actually one of the first leathers that Hermes done. So typically you'll find vintage Kellys in a box leather. I've got myself a beautiful box Birkin 35, which is probably my favourite bag, and when it has got a scratch, I love that look on the bag actually, when it has a slightly used look on it, and actually when the box leather does scratch, it looks less, you can see the scratch less than you would if you were to have a Epsom. So Epsom leather is what I'm moving on to next. So this is a Epsom Kelly. It's a horseshoe Kelly in the colour Rose Azalea and Grease Asphalt, which is just simply stunning. It has the matte gold hardware, and also it's a cellular. So like this, you can see they're both very structured Kellys. So what an Epsom leather is a compressed leather. So it's gone through a machine, and that's where you can see the compressed leather markings on the Kelly here. I don't know if you can see that there's a compressed mark, and it's much more of a flatter leather, and it's quite light because of its compression. It's actually one of the cheapest leathers to buy, and it's probably like box and like Tadelakt is structured. It's more, typically you see Epsom in a Constance or a Kelly, and now they just launched the Birkin Cellular in Epsom. So, and then obviously you can get a Birkin 30, and in the past they did a range of Birkin 25s in Epsom. So this is much more structured. In my opinion, Epsom is probably the most delicate leather, because it can easily scratch, because there's no movement in the bag. So if you are to brush against this bag, when it's a softer leather, often it pushes in, so you don't get that resistance, whereas on an Epsom, a more structured leather, because it has a structure, it doesn't have the resistance that you'd expect in a bag, so it actually does scratch. And when you do see a scratch on Epsom leather, it's actually quite visible. Luckily this has no scratches on it, but typically I think Epsom, everybody goes for a Epsom bag because they want a bag that lasts longer, so it does keep its shape. So that's the pros of an Epsom. The cons are that it easily scratches. So next we have a Chevre. Now Chevre is also known as Mysore Chevre. My French is not great, but this is again another Kelly 25 in Cellier, and this is goat skin. So with goat skin, if you can see, there is a line that runs in the middle of the bag. So that's how you can see and distinguish whether it's a Chevre skin. So this means that this is where the spine of the actual goat is, and that's why you can see a line. So if you see a Chevre bag and you see a line running through it, it's not actually where, we've had some comments saying, oh, but there's a big mark that's running at the back. No, that's actually just part of the skin, and that's part of the look. And actually it has a much more of a nicer shine to it. So again, it's another leather that's not as matte like Togo or Clemence. It's got more of a shine, and this is very rare because it's a Cellier. It's very rare to have a Kelly in a black with gold hardware anyway, and then to have it in Chevre. I just love the shine to this. I love the way that Chevre absorbs colour. So if you're looking and you love bags with colour, then my big recommendation would be to buy a Chevre, because the way that it absorbs the colour is absolutely stunning. Actually, I'm just going to pop off the sofa and show you what I mean when it comes to colour. So I'm back. This is a Chevre Mini Bleed. Again, you can see the spine is running underneath, in between the bag, and this is the colour Mauve Sylvester, and which I'm probably saying again incorrectly. It's got like a lilac tone and pink, but the way it absorbs the colour, it just really gives that pop, and it really shows the true colour. So if you're looking for a bright coloured bag and you love bright colours, then Chevre is a leather that I recommend. And also it's quite scratch resistant because it's a softer leather and it's a smoother leather, so it's got a grain to it. So if you like a grain and you like the shine, but you don't like a matte fin, like no grain, then Chevre is a good leather to have. So next up we have a Clemence Birkin. This is a leather which is known for its larger grains. So you can see the grain is much more larger. You can see the way that the bag sits, and also it's much more softer leather. So if you're looking for a leather and maybe you don't like the structure of a bag, then Clemence is the perfect bag to have, because over time it doesn't keep its shape. It does lose its shape. However, that's all depends on how you maintain your leather. Now, my advice for when you're buying Clemence leather, if you overstretch a Birkin or a Kelly, it's going to stretch. Like a pregnant woman, when the skin grows, the skin stretches. It's the same with a bag. So when I see overstuffed handbags and too much put in your handbag, the leather will stretch and it will slouch, irrespective whether it's a box or whether it's Togo. So it really depends on how you care for your bags. These bags are precious bags. Of course, we want to use our bags and enjoy them. They are investment pieces. They aren't cheap. They are expensive bags, so you should be looking after these bags. That's me just telling you off as an expert, and also somebody who loves the brand. I think this is something that you really need to maintain. Also, Clemence is probably the least scratch. It's the most scratch resistant. So if you scratch this or you brush against a hard surface, it's less likely to be scratched because it has the resistance. So if you're like now I'm pushing against it, it's going to go inwards, so it's not going to scratch as much. It's also very comfortable to hold. So when you're holding a Birkin, it molds into the shape of your body when it's a softer leather. When it's a harder leather like box or Epsom, actually it's quite uncomfortable. It's not as comfortable to wear. So if you're looking for a bag that looks good, has a comfort, and also Clemence as well is the best bag to send to the spa. So if you are looking for a bag that can be revived after in the aftercare, then Clemence is a very good leather to have. So if you're looking, typically if you look for a size 30, 25, Clemence won't lose its shape. This is a size 30 Birkin, and although it's been used, it hasn't lost its shape. But when it gets bigger, the bag generally gets heavier and it will lose its shape quicker. So next up we have a Birkin 35 in Togo. This is probably, again, one of my favourite leathers to have. It's a grainier leather, but the grains aren't as large as the Clemence, and it also features some veins. So you can see in the bag there are some fine lines that run through the bag, and that's what Togo is. So there isn't much difference between Togo and Clemence, except for this lasts, it keeps its shape better, and also at the same time the grains are smaller. So if you prefer a less grainier bag, or you like the smaller grains, then Togo is perfect. And in the size 35, again, it's because it's a heavier bag, it's a lighter leather to hold, it's a good leather to keep its shape, and also at the same time it's one of the most sought after leathers in the Hermes leather family. So next up we have a Swift Leather Birkin in the colour Rose Sakura in a size 25, which is just a stunning pink. So if you are looking to add a pink to your range, then this colour is absolutely beautiful. Swift Leather, it's a much more softer and a much more smoother leather. So it's in between a box and in between the Ever colour. So this is a grainless leather, as you can see here, and it is nice and smooth and soft. Typically this comes in a size 25 in a Birkin, and is probably a delicate leather. So if you're looking for something which you can wear without having to worry about it, then Swift probably isn't the best leather to go for. But again, if you're looking for that pop of colour and you like that look where it softens over time and it's a much more softer leather, then Swift is amazing. Again, I find softer leathers a much more robust leather because, like I've mentioned before, they aren't as resistant, so they do mould in with the body. And if you're looking for a pop of colour, like I mentioned before with Chevre, it absorbs the colours perfectly, as you can see here in this Birkin 25 Rose Sakura. And typically for me, if you're looking for, at first I never was a fan of a Swift Leather, but I just actually love the way that it has that clean matte finish. It's, you know, it just makes the bag look immaculate and even more beautiful and perfect. So Swift Leather, in now as I've got older, I actually quite like the Swift Leather. And I know people are scared of using Swift Leather. Actually, it's not as scary as you think it is. And also at the same time, for me, if you are buying a Birkin or Kelly, you aren't going to be reckless with your bag. You are going to be looking to protect your bag and be a bit more careful with it. So unless you're going to go around walking around with a blue pair of jeans, which I don't recommend for either leathers, because colour transfer, irrespective of the leather, can go onto any bag. So again, I just recommend, it's a Swift, it's a light colour, so you have to be a bit more careful with what you're wearing. So that's our very quick guide on the Hermes leathers. If you want to see more on Hermes or a leather guide on other brands, then please let us know, leave a comment below, and hopefully this makes you make a decision as to your purchase with your Hermes, Birkin or Kelly. So make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and if you aren't following us on Instagram, you can follow us at Luxury Promise. See you soon, bye.